Alright, hello everyone. So, welcome to this video I made. So, right now I'm drawing a tabs map, and so this isn't going to be a full map. I think I'm going to do a part 2 later. I'm going to do a lot of parts. Basically, this is a map with all like the special oddities, and I have some layers in there that show where the different factions are, and then later I'll make some more maps that goes into like where each faction is, a lot of the city names, roads, but I couldn't add everything in this map because otherwise it'd get too cluttered. But yeah, right now I'm just tracing the outline of the continents, and this footage is sped up like 20 times. I think this map took me around 7 hours to make. So yeah, that was fun. But I think you'll really like it. I think you'll enjoy it. So yeah, I'll let the epic music roll in now. So yeah, let me explain a little bit more here. So those little lines that I'm drawing outside the coastline are like supposed to be waves, and if you zoom in, they kind of look a little weird, like they are right now. But once you zoom out, I think they make the individual continents and islands look a lot better. And something else that I also want to mention is that there's another faction coming to tabs, at least one before the final release. And so I think I'll probably add another continent for them. Well, depending who they are, they could fit in with another faction too. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll see how things go. But yeah, almost for sure I'll be making a second part to this video. But this map is fully completed after I'm done with it, after the end of this video. So if you want to take a look at it, I think I'll have a link down below that you can download a file and set it as your wallpaper, and I think that'd be really neat. So yeah, right now, these big black streaks are where I want to put the mountains. So, and these are lakes, by the way. So when you're placing mountains, you have to be careful because the way I predetermined that most of my wind is going to flow from right to left. And so when wind flows into a mountain, it gathers clouds by the mountain, and the clouds don't go over the mountain as well as if they're going over regular flat terrain. So if clouds get stopped on the right side of the mountain, guess what will be on the left? A desert. So when you At least when I play my mountains, I kind of think about that. If I put all my mountains on the right side, it's just going to be a lot of desert unless I add a crap ton of rivers. You want some of the wind to buffer into your mountain and create a rain shadow, which creates a great area for forests and for rivers too. And then you also want to think of where your mountains are, because most people think that rivers come out of the sea, but normally they are flowing down from an elevated position, usually a mountain, into the sea. And so that's where you divide where the splits in your river are. And usually rivers don't split off, they're actually combining. So unless it's in the case of a delta, but that's different, and usually there aren't too many deltas. I don't think I included a delta in this map. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while since well, not a while, it's been like a week. But I haven't watched a full time lapse either, so. Yeah, so when you're seeing me fill in the shadowy side of the mountains right now, this is kind of stupid, but I don't like using the fill tool because in this program I use, it's called Sketchbook Autodesk, right? Recently became free, not recently, more like, I don't know, a few years ago, whatever. It leaves like these small pixels on the outside. Like if I draw this black circle and then I use the fill tool to fill it in, you'll have these like ring of white circles between the outline that you drew and the fill. And so then you have to hit the outline again, but the problem with that is it expands the image more, and now black pixels bleed out from your outline. So that's kind of weird. It's kind of why I don't like using it, especially for smaller images. And also, going up to hit the bucket again and again after I've drawn my outlines, it's just really tedious, and it's not really worth it when I could just take the extra couple seconds just to fill it in manually. So if you're wondering why I'm manually filling all these in, except for I think the couple biggest mountains, I do use a fill tool. Yeah, that's why. Alright, so now I'm making, well, these little circles are forests, and this process is really time consuming. It didn't take as long as the mountains. I think the mountains and coastline took the longest. Basically, you draw the first row of circles at the bottom, and then you do like all these little half circles, and then you do the tree trunks for the circles at the bottoms, and then you do all the shading. And those little lines that I was drawing, I seemed if I wanted to add shadows for the trees, but it never really looked right, and I thought it would be implied as like a desert or something, so I decided just not to go with it. But yeah, these forests take forever, but they end up looking really good, in my opinion.
Summer in the hills, those hazy days I do remember. We were running still, had the whole world at our feet.
Alright, so all these colors, I'm deciding where I want the factions to live, or where their main areas are. First I start off with these colors, but I'm like, no wait, that's stupid, I'm not gonna know what faction this is, so I changed it to all the colors that are actually in tabs. So yeah, the orange would be the tribal faction, Vikings are light blue, Dynasty is pink, Renaissance is red, black is pirates, purple spooky, the darker blue is the ancient faction, the light green is farmers, and the darker green is medieval. So yeah, right now I'm drawing this dead forest, because when you're, at least in my experience of drawing maps, when you're trying to decide boundaries for where people should live, usually there should be an obstacle. So like right there in that bottom left continent / island, the reason that the spooky faction and the tribal faction are divided is because they have the river and then the dead forest and the regular forest separating them. Just like up here with the Vikings, they have the river and the forest separating them from I think the farmer faction down below. So I find it helpful to make boundaries, and that's usually how countries are drawn. Usually like a prominent river or a lake or something like that. Oh yeah, and these are also palm trees. They look better when you zoom out. I could not for the life of me figure out how to draw these in some fantasy style because I've never seen them done before, so I just tried to make it up. It was semi-effective, but I do really like these cactuses.
Seasons change, our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the way, couldn't keep us from the sea. Here we stand open arms, this is home where we are, ever strong in the world that we made. I still hear you.
And right here, this is how I'm deciding the boundary between the legacy faction and the ancient faction. What's going to divide them so that, besides man-made barriers, and I think a forest is also a great idea.
Breeze, see your shadows in the trees, holding on, memories never change.
so now we're moving on to like the monuments, things that I find in the tabs maps that are interesting to me. That last one was the spooky door under that medieval map. If you go under the bridge, there's a door and the landfall logo lights up, and I thought that was pretty neat. So my lore is that's how the spooky faction got into the world, and they couldn't go north because of the mountains, so they went south and took over part of that little island, the little continent or the big island. I think it's a continent, but I don't know. This is a cave from the tribal faction map. The last thing before that was a castle on the other medieval map. This is the Blackbeard waterfall. It didn't really fit on the island, but oh well, whatever. And then this is the Colossus. This is so bad. I think it's probably the worst one. But I think it has a little unique charm here. I have to pull up a picture, decide how I want the Colossus helmet to look like. It's a little bit rounded, the perspective's off, but I think it's pretty neat. This is the endless pit or the bottomless pit from the Dynasty map. In the spooky map, it has a grate over it. So I was thinking that's where the spooky faction came from, but I don't think it is anymore. This is just a whole Viking map, the Viking sandbox one, and it's just that massive pit, which I think is pretty cool. This is the tree giant's tree. Maybe he hasn't picked it up yet. Maybe he died. I don't know. This is the temple from the ancient map. There's not all the stairs. It's just a generic temple, but I think it's pretty neat. So I think after I finish this one, I put all the names in, because one thing I found is it's really annoying to do text in this sketchbook editor. You can't like curve it. You just change the color and what font you want. So I actually had to go into Inkscape, which is this. It's kind of like Adobe Illustrator, but it's free. So I had to make up text in there. I had to curve it, which is a really long, annoying process. Sorry. You have to curve it around the circle. You have to make it follow the path, then unfollow the path, and then save it. And then I have to go to Adobe because you can't export the SVG as a PNG or a JPEG. You have to export it as a SVG, and then I have to go to Adobe's website and change it from an SVG to a PNG. So it's just a long, arduous process. Here, I was thinking that I wanted you guys to decide where all these city names were, and then I make a part 2, and that'd be really fun and cool. But the thing is, after I put all these dots in, there are just too many things to name, and it would make the map look really cluttered and ugly. So I've decided I'm just going to zoom in on specific parts of where the factions are, like there can be a medieval map or a pirate map or whatever, and then I can name things within there so it's not as cluttered and you can see more detail, and I think it'll just turn out a lot better. Here I'm making the compass. I decided I wanted it to be a T-posing wobbler, which I thought was kind of funny. So yeah, I'm tracing here just because I want to get an accurate representation of it. But yeah, I made one eye big, one eye small. I think the compass turned out nice. I think it kind of showed that this really was a tabs map and not just a generic fantasy map. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any fun or interesting lore, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you later.